Hi, I'm Jay Polaki, and this is the HR Bytes podcast, where HR practitioners share their think globally and act locally digital HR agenda. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HR Bytes podcast. My guest today is Kandi Gongora. She is a dynamic HR leader with over 20 plus years of experience, global experience, I should say, in human resources and organizational development and transformation. And currently, she's the Chief Transformation and People Officer at Goodway Group. Welcome to the show, Kandi. So nice and excited to have you on the show here today.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
So, Kandi, we've had this conversation several times already during our LinkedIn interactions, during our offline interactions. We've been talking about AI and automation and all that's happening in our HR space today. Yes. What, in your opinion, should we be doing as we approach AI for HR? And how do you think HR leaders should be preparing our function, or rather, since we are in the midst of it, should be handling our function with this increased use of automation and AI in our work?
I think start with just being curious and open. You're going to have to unlearn some things and realize that what we did even yesterday is not going to apply even tomorrow. And so some of the things to do is find a mentor, find somebody who's really getting versed and they're all in AI and automation, and communicate and learn from them and ask questions and go to events and webinars and just take in all the information you can, and then just dive right in and start trying it. And just take one process and say, how can I make this easier and use AI or automation here, and try it. That's the best way, is just to jump in. But you have to start with that curious mind and be very open.
Absolutely. And curiosity in this case is not going to kill the cat. It's going to make the cat more intelligent, if anything. So, Kandi, you and I spoke about Ruby.
Yes.
You answered my question on LinkedIn where I asked everyone, will AI join your org chart this year? And you were one of the few people who said you already have an AI on your org chart. So tell us a little bit about Ruby. Is he or she or it helping you save time and effort? And how did Ruby come about?
Sure. So Ruby, we do say she, we say Ruby, when we talk about her. She came about because we were having to recreate rubrics for our performance management system to really clarify to our employees what great looks like in the role, especially now that everything's changing so quickly and they have to really keep up with where our industry and the world is going. And it takes a lot of time to do that. And we weren't consistent when we first did the rubrics the first time. Because we had the PX, our people experience business partners, working with different leaders. So luckily, we have two bright people on our team. We have many bright people, but Julian Pop and Walker Williams got together and said, let's make this easier. And so they just jumped in and just started loading the templates and what our role maps look like, which are our job descriptions, and what the scorecard for a rubric, what a really good rubric looks like. And then our stakeholder, our final approver of this approach, is our CEO. And so they actually loaded in how he speaks, like his publications, things he's posted on LinkedIn. He has an About Me deck that we use with new employees, and also his predictive index profile. So we really wanted her to know like how he thinks and how he speaks and looks at things. So we did that, and we did many tests with it, and back and forth, lots of feedback with our CEO and the leaders and some independent contributors, and got to a great point where now our HR business partners can use Ruby to quickly partner with the managers and create the rubrics. And so it saved a lot of time and has more consistency. And it's really focused on being clear and using metrics to make sure the employees know how they make an impact.
Wow, what a wonderful example of AI in HR today, right? So it seems to me like you've kept the human in the loop, because that's a great segue to what I wanted to learn from you next is, how do we keep this human touch in the midst of all of this technological revolution that's happening around us. And you've kind of partly alluded to how you're doing that with Ruby. Could you um, tell us a little more about what your thought process is around keeping the human in the loop?
Yes. So I think, again, we have to think a little bit differently of how do we provide impact. And, for years, I know even myself, you're like, I complete this task or I complete this thing or I think, and then that provides impact. And so really understanding that this is a thought partner, like this is someone who can help you on the side. You just have to define how it's going to help you and think about where are you most valuable? And then how does this tool fit in and where it can save you time or let you really quickly get to an answer because you can use it as, like I said, a thought partner. So I think that's where the human touch comes in. And so when we, even designing Ruby, you think about the stakeholders because that's who's going to be the end user of the product. So the leaders, they have to use that, it has to make sense. The employees, the individual contributors, like what do they like, what makes sense to them so that they are successful in their role. And then obviously our CEO, because he believes in our performance management system, we had to like take some of his human qualities to make sure that it met his needs. And so there's really lots of human touches and things you think about. You just have to flip the way you think. You really have to stop and pause and think about how do we work together to create the best output.
Wonderful. NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang, who's always in the news because of all of the AI stuff that's happening with NVIDIA and the rest of those big tech companies out there, predicted that AI will be smarter than humans in 5 years before 2030. What do you foresee for HR today and beyond 2025? We can talk about the big, hairy, audacious goals, the BHAGs of HR, but what do you foresee in your crystal ball that I'm asking you to look into?
I really think that it allows HR to be more strategic. And there's a lot of companies that have moved in that direction, but there are still companies out there where HR is very tactical or compliance or about legal and policies. And really our value is being strategic, a strategic advisor to the CEO and the leadership team. And AI allows you to do that. And so giving up the task or the things that do not need the human touch as much is going to make it much easier for you to show up and have the time to think strategically. And also, the world is moving faster than ever. And, we need to go faster, further, faster, like all companies do to compete the competition. This allows you to work very quickly and have very lean, small teams to get projects done. So there's a lot of benefit to it. I think we really just have to think about where we can add the most value with our skills, our human skills and our thinking, and apply AI to that and show up in a way that's going to make an impact to the business and not just from the HR standpoint.
Absolutely. And you're one of those HR leaders who comes from other areas of the business as well. And during our conversation, you mentioned how, the impact to the business and keeping the business's goals in mind as you create HR initiatives and implement them is so important and crucial in today's world of work. So, what's one piece of HR advice or advice for our HR colleagues who are looking to adopt or learn new technology, or they're actually adopting AI? What's your advice to them?
Well, I think it depends on where you are. If you're truly you haven't even dipped your toe into this, I would think about from a personal level because there's no harm in that, right? I've heard people starting with loading what's in their refrigerator and creating a recipe or try something on a personal level just to see how that fits in and then go to the work level. I think it's also understanding where the business is going. I think we should be more proactive. And so think about your business objectives that you have to achieve and then back into that on how can I use this new technology and a new way of thinking to help our company achieve that. So an easy example from the employee experience side of things, we also have a client experience. you could use AI to take the data from both to determine, is it making an impact by what we're doing with our employees? Is it making an impact to our client experience, or vice versa? Like, there's so many different ways to think about how the HR side of things impact the business side. Just spend some time and maybe start with even the metrics that we measure, and then see how AI can help you look for insights. That's a very easy way to get started.
Wonderful. Well, this brings us to the funner part of our conversation. It's the question connection round, where our audience and you get to connect. Are you ready?
I think so.
Who's one person in your network, Kandi, that you've gained this year or last, because we're very early on in the year right now, that you think people should know more about? And we'll mention them in the show notes so they can connect.
So recently I have connected with a woman that is mentoring me in certain areas. I'm part of a AI forum. And so we were in a community, and she pinged me on the side, connected with LinkedIn. And so I've been following her, and she's been very helpful. And her name is Eva Feng, Feng. And so I just want to do a shout out for her.
All right. We'll include her in the show notes so everyone can connect with her. Your favorite HR podcast or HR tech or HR book that you would recommend?
A podcast that I love, and it has HR portions to it, but it really goes into operating systems and really how the whole system works, is The Ready. And it's based on the book Brave New Work. And I love that podcast because it really makes you think differently. And so that's kind of mindset I need as we're going into really new areas and territories.
What's one song that you would recommend or add to our playlist on Spotify? And we call it Gecko's Grooves. It's an HR playlist for working from anywhere.
Well, so it's an older song, but whenever I need a pick-me-up or we do a little celebration, I like listening to Love Shack. It's old, but it definitely like picks up the beat a little bit, and it just makes you feel good, especially when the weather's nice and things are going well. It's really nice.
Well, we'll add it right away.
Okay.
Would you recommend a LinkedIn Learning or e-learning webinar series for HR technology?
I would say there's not one that's specific, but since we're talking about AI, let me back that up. So I don't have a series, but what I would recommend and what we're doing internally is in Coursera, there's so many AI opportunities to learn, and you could take that and translate that into HR and how we use it. So I would just go in there and start looking. That's kind of what we're doing with our employees, and I found that to be really helpful.
So do you like working remotely, physically in a specific office location, or in a hybrid setting?
I'm pretty flexible. I've done all of the above. Right now I'm fully remote, but I do like having the co-working option to go into an office and meet with my friends and colleagues to work. And we often get together even though we are remote. So I guess you would call that hybrid. I just like the flexibility of working based on what I need to get done or what kind of energy I need that day.
Wonderful. How do you enjoy giving back to the HR community? I know you give back to a lot of different communities in and around where you're currently located, but how do you specifically like giving back to the HR community?
I love connecting to HR people and learning from them, and then also like sharing my knowledge and mistakes and wisdom. And so a lot of times I will, sign up to teach. Like Hacking HR is a good example of where they have sessions where you can actually teach future CHROs. There's also panels that they're free. So I love to give back that way and share knowledge because that's how I've learned. And then I'm always open for coffee or a virtual coffee to share if anybody has questions or they're doing something new that they've never done before that I have experience. I feel like that's the best way to build a community around yourself so that we can all lift each other up.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your insights and the funner side of you, Kandi, with me and our audience in the HR Bytes community today. What's the best way for anyone to connect with you?
The best way is LinkedIn. I'm spending more and more time there. And again, another good learning resource. So you can find me with Kandi Gongora on LinkedIn. I'm sure you'll have the link. And I look forward to hearing from people and connecting.
Wonderful. So thank you again. Thank you everyone for being here today. And I'm sure you've learned a lot from what Kandi shared today. I did. And I look forward to bringing you more such HR stories from HR practitioners who are using AI in HR today. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Kandi.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Listen on your favorite podcast channels and watch us on YouTube. Follow us on social. We are on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Join our budding community on LinkedIn and Facebook. Ask, answer, advice, and more.